K-Mac. This is Jay Holgate, SEC Sports Report.
Good. Okay. You never know when you get the unexpected call on the hotline. It could be Jay Holgate. It could be Sears Roebuck trying to get a card.
Well, you just got to make that minimum payment, and they'll quit calling you.
Yeah, I know. That washing machine it looked like a good purchase at the time.
No.
I can do it, man.
Now the thing sounds like a helicopter in your office or in your house because it's off balance so bad.
Right.
I got the same issue.
I'm not paying them a cent. It's worth to me about as much as Lane Kiffin is Tennessee at this point.
Man, K-Mac, this thing is ESPN's all over it for one. There's just a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how much you guys have talked about, but there's a couple of things I think need to be pointed out to your listeners. Number one is Tennessee was, as of yesterday, they had a number 6 class rated by Rivals.com. 22 kids had committed to Tennessee, and they thought they had a pretty good class, and it was looking pretty good in Rocky Top. Now, by the time Kiffin dropped that bomb on everybody last night around 8:30, they while he was talking to the press about leaving, Ed Orgeron was in a back room calling up the current recruits and telling them that not to go to class tomorrow and to consider going to Southern Cal.
Wow.
So, we were just talking about, you've said it all along. You never trusted him. You didn't believe in him. That is very unethical, number one. He's on Tennessee's grounds. He's on, he's being paid by Tennessee. On just a lot of different ways around it. This thing just looks bad, and I think Ed Orgeron is kind of doing the dirty work for Kiffin. They basically said we're leaving, we're going to bank big bucks in California, and we're gonna milk this thing for what we can. And so they had that going on. Now today, ESPN reported about an hour ago that one of the board of trustees members has brought Philip Fulmer into the equation here. So what we're looking at is we probably got a holy war going on in Knoxville right now. I had a guy that I was supposed to get on the radio earlier today, and he said things were fairly volatile, and he could not talk to me right now. He would have to talk to me later. But if Fulmer comes in, Fulmer and athletic director Hamilton, they don't like each other, obviously. And obviously, if with athletic director Hamilton, with just the hire of Lane Kiffin, it tells you a little bit about what kind of people that he believes in and where he leans. And we all knew that Lane Kiffin on some level had a lot of character issues. He was overpromising. He just had a lot of things going on that we didn't like as far as integrity issues. But if Fulmer, they're talking about Fulmer could be potentially an AD or a coach to help them transition this whole process. So, man, so it's getting exciting up there. I'm on the phone with a number of people who are up there. I know a couple college kids who are up there. I'm not getting a whole lot in the last hour, but ESPN's following this thing like it's the biggest story ever. So I think that Lane Kiffin did at least talk to his players. I was thinking that he may not do that, but he did at least talk to them, and he had to leave the town with a police escort last night. So they were burning mattresses in the streets, and just crazy stuff going on. But I don't know who they're going to go after.
It's not shocking, Jay. I've been saying this.
I agree.
Months now. This was going to be a train wreck. That this was going to end badly.
Right. I know you.
That's exactly what's happened. Now, maybe sooner than some of us expected, but I fully expected him to lead that program in shambles, and that's what he's done. Mike Hamilton, to me, should be fired. He might be a great, outstanding person, but he brought this guy in. It was a huge mistake.
Yes.
I've known better. He's got to be the fall guy there. And if they're even talking about Phil Fulmer, if I'm Mike Hamilton, I think I'm starting to put my resume out there and see if I can find another job, because I don't know if he's going to make it through this. And quite frankly, as an AD, it's your job to make sure things like this don't happen. So,
right.
But where they go from here remains to be seen. Their recruiting class, as you mentioned, is falling apart very quickly. And who's out there that they can hire? We've mentioned some guys. We've mentioned some NFL coaches that are out of work right now that might be interested in the job. But there's just not a a lot of big-time names out there, and we're 3 weeks away from signing day.
Right, right. So, I mean, whoever they bring in, I mean, they got no relationship most likely with the guys that they've got verbal commitments from. I would venture to guess that you're going to lose at least half of that class. I bet it's down to by about to 10 by next week. And I think, the Florida States, the Steve Spurriers, all these guys, they I guarantee you Spurrier was on the phone last night. I think there are 3 South Carolina kids that are committed to Tennessee. I know that they don't have a chance with at least one of them, but one of those kids is out of Sumter, and I mean, just thinking that they were just employed by Tennessee yesterday morning, and by last night they were already calling their recruits that they had been selling Tennessee and trying to convince them to go to Southern Cal. I mean, that's just outrageous. I mean, and I don't like the way that coaching is going, if that's the direction that we're going in. It's not win at all costs. I will say one thing about Spurrier. The man would never do that. He's got more integrity than that.
No, and it doesn't surprise me because, quite frankly, in Columbia there was an issue when David Reeves left to join Lane Kiffin's staff. Reeves did, with the university phone, allegedly, was calling USC recruits to let them know that, hey, I'm leaving, and maybe ask them if they wanted to go with them. And it rubbed some recruits the wrong way. It certainly rubbed a lot of Gamecock fans the wrong way, who at one point had a lot of admiration for David Reeves. He was part of bringing in a huge class. When they brought in that top 5 class, Gamecock fans were enamored with David Reeves. But when he left to go work with his brother-in-law, I think people understood that. But then when the news came out that he's using a university-issued cell phone, University of South Carolina-issued cell phone, to call Gamecock recruits, that's just one of those unwritten rules. It's what you would call in baseball bush league. You just don't do that sort of thing. It's not ethical, and most coaches respect that. Lane Kiffin is one of those guys, as we've talked about, Jay, and you've mentioned repeatedly, he presses that envelope. He's a younger guy. He's brash. He doesn't play by the same old-school rules. He plays by his own rules, and in 14 months, it's been proven time and time again, if you go back to the Oakland Raiders, to his time at Tennessee, to the way he left, it's been a disaster, and Southern Cal will pay the ultimate price for this as well. They're going to go back into their non-existent. I don't think they're going to be the program that they've been the past decade. Part of that might be NCAA stuff. Another part of it might be the imbalance that is going to be there with Lane Kiffin and Ed Orgeron, who's a nut, and they don't have a Pete Carroll there to steady him and be like, whoa, dude, let's calm down a little bit and have fun. I mean, you can say what you want about Pete Carroll. He is a pretty smart guy. He is a pretty good football coach. He wasn't bad with the Patriots. He was great with Southern Cal, and I don't think he'll be terrible with the Seahawks, to be quite honest with you. I think he will do better at Seattle than Lane Kiffin will do with the Trojans.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I got a couple of predictions for you that I think you guys will agree with. Number one, I bet they don't convince more than 3 players off of that current commitment list to go to Southern Cal. I bet they can pull 3. My second commitment is last year's recruiting class. I guarantee you that by the time those guys it's time for them to graduate, I bet you got less than 8 guys that graduate out of that class. I'm just telling you, these are kids. I don't think they're going to graduate from Tennessee. I think you're going to have guys get suspended, fall out, all kinds of issues. The third thing is that I guarantee you that Southern Cal is going to have some problems. They're going to have NCAA sanctions brought against them. Just the fact that these other guys didn't go there. Lane Kiffin was actually like 4th or 5th choice. I think that they're going to have some problems down the road, and I just think just because of the issues we've talked about with Kiffin, it's a guarantee that they're going to have issues. This kid, he takes it up to the line all the time. He's always pushing the envelope, and I think Southern Cal is going to have issues. He burns a lot of bridges, and I think in life you reap what you sow. That just is a universal principle. It has always been that way, and he's burning bridges, and he definitely burned a bridge in Knoxville. It's going to be interesting to see how Lance Thompson, who he pulled from Alabama last year, that guy, talk about making a bad move at a wrong time. I mean, he left Alabama. They were number 1 this year. Now he's at Tennessee. He probably won't go with them. He's got to try to pick up something. So, I mean, there's just a lot of... You just can't go around just burning bridges like that, and I think it's going to catch up with them.